Okay, hello everyone, and welcome. Welcome to today's live Q&A as part of the Lesflicks Film Festival. We are delighted to be accompanied by several of the filmmakers from today. Oh, Jill's jumped off. Okay. So sorry, Stacey just disappeared a second. So we've got Maeva Poupard, who is here as part of Each and Every Night. We have Kate Reed from Something in Between, Christina Pupo from Out in Love. We have Taylor Gates from Academic Super Squad, Chloe Viao from Chloe Viao Transgender Activist, Mary Ann Pianka, who is from sorry, my mouse has gone. I have so many remember here. Mary Ann Pianka, who is from To You, which we've literally just finished watching. We have Jill Harrigan from Lainey Needs a Light, and Stacey Jill Calvert from The Bar Mitzvah. So yes, amazing. Thank you all for joining us today. It's great to have you all here. So yeah, I mean, obviously you've got very different shorts. They've been across a few of our different strands. I think I'd like to come to each of you first to kind of, I think we'd like to know, is this your first film or have you made anything before? So let's start with that, because I think it's quite interesting for people to know people's experience as filmmakers, because I think often people think they can't do filmmaking, but I think it's good to hear people's stories. So let's start, Maeva. So you wrote with Each and Every Night. Could you talk a little bit about if this is your first experience in writing this film or if you've done something before?
I've worked in comic books before, so I'm a comic book author, but I've also worked in animation in the animation industry. And yeah, indeed, it's because of my experience as a script doctor. So basically, someone who comes in and tries to fix the problems in some scripts, animation scripts. That Julie, the filmmaker, the director of Each and Every Night, contacted me, and so yeah, so I came in and I wrote it.
Excellent. So you've worked on other projects before.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, and let's add. I'm going to come back out. It's very confusing. And Kate Reed, do you want to tell us a little bit about your film? Now, you're also a singer-songwriter, so quite interesting to know how this came about. If you'd like to give us a little bit of an insight into this is your first film and kind of why you created this.
Hi, yes, hi everybody. Yes, I am a singer-songwriter by trade. I've never made a film before. I was invited to, my film was just a short doc, like it was like 9 minutes and 8 seconds. I was invited to a digital storytelling workshop at a university that's close to where I live. And so it was like a 3-day workshop, and that's where I made my film, and I wrote the narrative for it, and then some folks helped me shoot it, and that's what happened. And then somebody told me about Film Freeway, which is where I put my film up, and was able to get into a bunch of festivals with my short documentary. So it was really exciting, and it's great to be here.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. Okay, go back out and let's hear. Oh, the names have gone. How have I managed that? Let's hear from Christina next. If you'd like to explain to us, well, this is your first project and how you came about working on your film.
Sure. So I would say Out in Love is my first official project. I've done a few haphazard web series that have been very low budget and very last minute. So, and projects in film school, but Out in Love was definitely my first professional endeavor, if you will.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And we'll go back to, sorry, for Taylor. So Academic Super Squad. Again, let us know kind of your experience, how you came to make this. So yes, please do share.
Yeah, so this is the first film that I ever directed. I had written a short a couple months prior that we did a lot of like crowdfunding for, and I was lucky enough to make this one through a Young Filmmakers Fellowship called Outset, which is the LFEST Fellowship for Young Filmmakers. And so that was a really cool like 6-month process, kind of a boot camp on how to write, produce, do production design. And then I was fortunate enough at the end of it to be able to write and direct my own film.
Excellent. Wow. So that's inspiring. So it's good that sometimes you can find these kind of courses and things that can really help you.
Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
Excellent. Yeah, no, that's really good. Chloe, so coming to you next. Can you just tell us a little bit about how you came to be the star of this amazing documentary that really gives us an insight into your life?
Yes, so I'm a transgender senior. I'm over 70 years old, and the producer is the Archives du Québec in Montreal, Canada, and they asked me to explain about what is my life about transgender activists and senior people, because it's rare. And I said yes. I think it's very important because there's not too much people at my generation to make a coming out at 65 years old. So this is my story on 19 minutes on the video. So that's it.
Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing. Yeah, it's very interesting. I think I do love kind of documentaries for kind of just showing. It's inspiring sometimes. It kind of makes you want to kind of do more with your life. I'm like, okay, we can work harder. It's very much so. That's really inspirational, really. And also good for history, because I don't think we're taught enough about our kind of queer history. So thank you for sharing that with us. Mary and Bianca, would you like to share a little bit about your experience with To You? Is this your first project, or what else have you worked on?
It's the first one that was really mine. To You is a part of a play that I wrote in college and have just sort of kept rewriting. It's a series of monologues that's, you know, much the same setup as the Vagina monologues, but each one is a different narrative relationship. So that was my play, and I've taken it to the Edinburgh Festival Fringe and stuff like that. And then the last like 7-8 years of living in LA, I've helped with all my friends' films. I've been like ADs and just anything on set to be on set. And then I cashed in on all those favors so that I can do To You as my like film directorial debut. So not my first, but the first one that was like really mine.
yeah, that was yours. Yeah, I get what you mean. It's important. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Jill Harrigan, again, would you like to just share with us?
Yeah, for sure. So this is my second film that I've directed and written. I did co-write this one with somebody named Charlotte Warren. How it really became a film is here in Maine, we have something called Damnation Land, and it's an annual horror/thriller festival. And they ask Maine filmmakers to come out and create a film for that specific event. So it was kind of stretching me and my team a bit to come up with a thriller/horror genre with lesbians in it, because that's my whole thing, right? I don't want to make any films that don't have lesbians in it. So I came up with the script, but I didn't have an ending. And my friend Charlotte was like, hey, what about this twist? And if you've seen the film, there's a little twist at the end. And I was like, yes, that's great. Also, we need a scene here, here, and here. So she helped write it. So it's just been a really wonderful and collaborative experience.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing. That's absolutely great. And lastly, but by no means least, because I think the Bar Mitzvah probably made me laugh hardest out of all the films from this festival. So Stacey Jill Calvert, would you like to share the Bar Mitzvah? Oh, no, hang on. Sorry. That moved. There you go.
Sure. Hi. So yeah, the Bar Mitzvah is my first, I will say, I'll go with Christina's answer, my first professional narrative project. I have a background in documentary and documentary film and unscripted television. But the Bar Mitzvah is my first narrative outside of one in grad school where my undergrad held lights for me. So first professional.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. So back to the room with everyone here. Great. So thank you so much. I mean, so obviously, like over this weekend, we've had 33 short films, which is just phenomenal. We ended up doubling the length of our program, which I think is really exciting. Yeah, because there were just too many good films. And actually, we still had some that we wanted to program, but I was like, this is getting ridiculous. And obviously, I mean, that's the benefit of being online, because you can lengthen a program without extra costs around venue hire. So I think there's definitely some benefits. And obviously also just being able to kind of bring filmmakers together, I think something we'll continue to do. So for all of you, jump in if you kind of want to give some specific feedback. Like, how are you finding the filmmaking experience in terms of, because you were all lucky that before the world went a bit crazy with this pandemic, that you've already got a finished product. So have you found this as an exciting time? Does anyone want to jump in kind of the benefits they found of the kind of current climate with their films? How is everyone finding the opportunities, I guess, of this time?
I also say, for me, the fact that it's worldwide has been really awesome and amazing. I've had friends from all over the world who could see the film, whereas they'd have to wait for me, unless I sent them a link, of course, but, you know, have to wait until we actually go to wherever they are. So that's been a real benefit to us, and a great thing for indie filmmakers. But yeah, I miss the theater. I mean, that's the one thing, having it in real life premiere, I think it's something I really want to do. But yeah, I love all the film festivals that have been super supportive of people in this time.
Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing. Yeah.
I've definitely been less hesitant about sending this short to festivals, because it's one of the only things I can do. So I submitted it to so many festivals and have been an active participant in the ones that's gotten in, because there was nothing else I could do. So I submitted it everywhere.
For me, I think the time to be able to continue to work on your project, what I submitted for Out in Love is the pilot episode of an entire series. And the one thing that this global shutdown has provided is just time to be able to kind of draft out new scripts and kind of think of what we want to do with this project and where we can take it. So I feel like time, definitely being able to reconsider things and not have to rush everything, is definitely something that's good that's come out of all this.
Excellent. Yes. Anyone else?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely more open to have this online festival. So thank you. It's our very first for Each and Every Night, actually, because we wanted to show it in Annecy, which is the biggest animation festival worldwide. I would say it's very famous, and especially in France. But of course, because of what you said, because of the venue, because of the cost, because of the competition is extremely harsh. So for reasons unknown, we couldn't make it there. It wasn't scheduled there, and we didn't pass the selection. But we're extremely proud. I want to speak in the name of my team and in the name of Julie here for Lesflicks to be our very first festival, and so people discover Each and Every Night on this festival.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's been very enjoyable. I will add, if anyone's watching and wants to ask any particular questions, you can just do so in the chat and they will come up. So we will keep an eye on the chat for that. So in terms of creating content, we see a lot online, representation matters being talked about a lot. For all of you, why do you think it's important to show our stories made by us for us, in terms of, I guess, inspiring? Anyone want to jump in?
I'll jump in. I think, you know, people can't become what they don't see, right? So my wife and I, we've been together for a long time, almost 16 years, and the amount of media with biracial couples, biracial lesbian couples that are starting to come out of the woodwork is really important. But for the longest time, her and I would watch lesbian films and just white everywhere. So yes, lesbianness is great to get out there, but I'm also really loving, especially in the journeys section, I noticed lots of biracial couples. And I just think it's important, you know, for us to see ourselves on screen.
Thanks, Jill. Yeah, really. Anyone else want to jump in?
I think
no, go ahead.
Yeah, please.
Do you want me to go first? Okay, thank you. I think for me, like, my story was about having top surgery as a queer woman, and I think for me it was important for me to write it because people kept telling me that that was a story they had not heard before, and I think even for me, like, it took me so long to figure out that that was, you know, going to be okay for me to do, and that I could do that and not identify as trans. That I really felt like it was important to add some nuance to the story, to some of the gender stories that we hear, because I hadn't encountered a story like mine anywhere in any of the media I had encountered, where, you know, I still, for all intents and purposes, identified as a woman, but didn't want to have breasts. So that was really important for me to write that out and to put that out in the world. And since then, it has altered my understanding of my gender in a dramatic way too, in ways that I'm still coming to grips with. So, and of course, you know, our genders and sexualities are for me very fluid, or I realized more fluid than I had thought initially. I was quite very, you know, in the 90s, very adamant that woman was saying that I was a woman and identifying that way was very important to me, in order to reclaim a lot of the misogynistic stuff I grew up with as a teen, and or sort of like heal from that. And it has shifted over time. And as I encounter more people and more stories, and I resonate with different stories that I didn't know before. So for me, that was the importance, just to sort of add some nuance to the gender stories that are out there.
I must admit, it's really good to see someone talking about, like, having top surgery and not transitioning. I think because particularly in the LGBTQ plus community, sexual orientation and gender get so muddled up together and just thrown together all the time. And that's why I think particularly that film was just like, it's just genius, because it kind of allows you to kind of say these things are different and they're not always connected, but different parts can have different impacts. And so yeah, that was really, really powerful. So thank you. Maeva, did you have something to add as well? I think, and Christina as well.
Yes. two things, in fact. The first thing was it was very important for me. The initial story before I script doctored it with Julie. I really wanted to talk about mental health within a couple, and I wanted it to be a story that's universal, that's supposed to speak, and at the same time it's really an intensely lesbian story. Like watching it for the first time with friends, I was like, oh, this is so lesbian. But at the same time, the heterosexual couple is such a like a brick, the founding bricks of our society, or something. Like, if you want to tell a universal story, you have to go to a heterosexual couple. So I wanted to kind of break that, and it's not a story about them being lesbians, it's a story about mental health with lesbians in it, which was extremely important for us. And also, a friend of mine remarked that I put my origins in there, a very slight mention, because one of the main characters comes from Reunion Island, and I come from Mauritius, which is it's very close by. And I managed to slip in a mention of Mauritius in the dialogues, and I was very happy with that. I really wanted to do that, and it's so specific, but I really wanted that in there because I don't hear the name of my island mentioned so much, mentioned anywhere. Every time it's mentioned anywhere, I'm like, oh my God, they mentioned Mauritius. So again, that it's like, it's not a big representation thing, but it's still, I think it still matters. Be also as specific as you want in these matters, I think.
Brilliant. Yeah. Christina, and I'm also going to pop up a question to go with your answer.
Sure. Perfect. So for me, I didn't come out until after I had been married for 6 years to a man who then also came out after I did, which is what Out in Love is about. Talk about pulling from life. And the thing about representation is, growing up, I never really, I didn't really see any lesbian character that wasn't just some one-dimensional generic character of what white cisgendered male thinks a gay person is. And so it never clicked with me. And, being someone who's into film and television, that's kind of the characters we see is what we live by. And not seeing myself reflected in anything on television, I just kind of went with the norm, and I figured, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm not gay. And then, life had other plans. But so I think it's important to just show different stories. And with Out in Love, showing marriage in a different light was very important to me. Just showing it as a family, as accepting that you're going to change and that there are other journeys ahead, but it doesn't mean you have to just kind of throw everything out the window, just kind of disown this person from your life. You can kind of, hold each other's hand through a process that's kind of difficult.
That's really nice. So Nicole has asked if you can talk a little about the process creating the pilot and getting your team together, and what you think you need to make the whole series.
So do you want me to start, or?
Yeah, let's just jump straight in.
All right, yeah.
Come back. Yeah. We have to give the audience what they're asking for. So.
Right, yeah. So the process is, oh, geez. It was a whirlwind for my project because I came up with the concept of putting my life into a series when I met my partner, Alicia, at Klexicon, which is, another big, awesome lesbian festival. We met there and at a diner, the pilot kind of came to light, and that was in April of last year. And we shot the pilot in October, early November. So we didn't have much time to get this all together, from script to building a crew. And honestly, what I can say is reach out to everyone and anyone that you know who might know someone in film, who might know someone who knows someone. The entire pilot was a dime budget, but it was built on people who believed in the project. I would just pitch, someone would be like, oh, I know a great DP. And I would send the most passionate email that I could ever think of. And I would lay it all on the line and then be like, well, you know, only work on this though if you actually believe in this. This is, you know, just, you really need to be on board. If not, well, we can work together some other time. It's all good. And every person who got that email from me said yes. And I had 23 amazing women on my crew. There was, I think, 2 dudes who they were very helpful though. They did their part. But yeah, it was really kind of magical how it all came together. But it was a lot of work and sleepless nights. But based on applying for any scholarship, you know, a lot of my equipment was granted by an organization called the Chicanas Director Initiative, which is a Latina group here in LA for directors. And they did a monthly grant where they would grant you equipment and grip equipment, just give it to you, which was, I just kept waiting for the catch. I'm like, are you, okay, what happens now? Did I just sign my life away? But it's amazing. There are programs out there and you just have to ask questions and let people know that you're doing a project, because people want to help, especially when it's something that you're so passionate about and that you're telling a story that hasn't been told. Everyone's pretty tired with the same generic cisgendered white male story. So we're ready for more. But that was my struggle.
No, that's really good to hear. Thank you. And does anyone else want to share any kind of their experience on kind of finding crew and equipment and beg, borrowing and stealing? Because I think that's probably quite important with kind of independent short lesbian bisexual films, is like how we get these made. Like there's not a string of investors sitting there kind of going, hey, have some cash. So anyone got anything interesting they want to share around that? Stacey? Yeah.
Sure. So ironically, I met another partner in crime at CollectCon at a YouTube lab that we did. How funny. So Jacqueline and I were talking. She's a cinematographer, editor. She's like a Mac knife, or what does he call us? The knives, like all purpose. She does everything. So she was able to get a lot of the crew, which was really amazing. As far as paying for that stuff, we were very lucky. We did a small crowdfunding back earlier last year. Anyway. And it went really well. And so that was super helpful. It still was a lot of money. Like I thought I had all the money I needed, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I don't have all the money I needed. So it takes some time. I think you can run with a skeleton crew. I mean, you can do it. People have done it all the time. You can shoot on an iPhone. Just make sure you have audio.
Good,
you know, there are ways about it. Yeah, there are ways about it. But I think it was, for me, it was validating to have a real crew. Like in grad school, you're literally running around with the camera by yourself most of the time. So it was really nice to have a crew, super professional. And I think to find those people, I mean, Facebook has been awesome in terms of Facebook groups. There's so many groups out there, and the internet in general. And I think that's one of the things that I really love over the past few years, is that I feel like I've kind of built a community of friends and co-conspirators. And I think that's really important, is to just keep networking, keep meeting people, and you'll find people who want to help you.
Brilliant. Sorry, Jill. Yes.
Oh yeah, I was just going to speak to that. I think it was Mary Ann who said, you know, she helped out on a ton of different films, and then she could kind of say, yeah, hey, remember when I helped you out? That's also a great way to do it. Of course, don't do it just to get something in return, but the fact of the matter is, if you help out on several films throughout the years, those people are more apt to do something nice for you.
Absolutely. Beg, borrow and steal, and have fun while you do it, though, because I think that's the thing, is getting on those sets is exciting. Taylor, I want to hear from you. So we saw one episode of Academic Super Squad that potentially could become a series. Do you want to talk a bit about how you created it and what your hopes and dreams are?
Yeah, so I haven't, I'll admit I haven't written anything else in this like sort of universe yet. I'm kind of like doing other things so I can get, I guess, the inspiration back, but I definitely have some ideas about developing, I would love to develop the sort of minor characters in it more, like Kevin and Kratos, and because I think that it's just always such a fun sort of thing when you have an ensemble with all these kind of clashing personalities that like all sort of come together. I mean, if you think of The Breakfast Club or just any sort of coming of age teen comedy, I think that's such a trademark of the genre. And so I would love to kind of do that and put such a queer spin on it. I remember after someone watched it, they were like, so is this like a club, like it's like a front for just like a queer club, or did it just all happen to be like queer? And I'm like, they just all happen to be. And I think that that's such a fun kind of approach, especially nowadays where, the younger generation is sort of more open and, like just more fluid with like their sexualities and things. And I think that that would be such a cool thing to sort of explore under this like nerdy academic club umbrella.
Yeah, it makes me reminds me a little bit of like the Buffy clan. Like they're all like love hunting vampires, and they're all like together, and it's just like, yeah, you find your tribe, and you all kind of come together and then stick to each other like glue to help each other out. But you're all quite different, you have different challenges, but yeah, you kind of become a club. So yeah, no, it's just nice as well to see kind of like positive representations as well, which is really exciting. And I love the color you put into that. I think it's so bright and colorful, which makes you want to watch more. So hopefully that will go well. We've got a question, I'm going to put it up here. It's for everyone, so again, kind of jump in if you'd like to comment. Did you have any opposition with making your films, i.e. the content, and how did you overcome those challenges? Now obviously web series people make more of because you don't have to answer to a TV executive who says no one wants to see that, and we know they don't actually know what they're talking about. Web features is a bit harder because you need a lot more money. So shorts, do you have the same challenges? Did you have any challenges around making these? Anyone want to jump in? Yes.
Yeah, I didn't have any opposition to the content. Living in LA, it's a pretty groovy place. Like that wasn't the problem. But I did have a lot of people tell me that I wasn't ready to direct yet, which was cute. And I had people, a lot of people who said things like, you don't direct yourself yet. Direct other people before you direct something that you put yourself in. And I can't, like, all right, if it's bad, well, then it's my bad. It's my money. Like, whatever. I'm not going to learn if I don't do that. And directing myself is something I've always wanted to do. I'm an actor first and foremost, and I don't get to do enough of that in LA. So, and also, if I don't cast myself, how can I expect somebody else to cast myself? So, yeah, you learn by doing. And again, it was my money. So if it was bad, then fine. It was like mine to be bad. So I did have a lot of people that I love who were like, I don't know yet, but other people's fear can't be your fear.
That's good advice. Yeah. Anyone else?
For ours, so our whole thing was we wanted to make a thriller. If you watch any horror or thriller movies, a lot of if a gay person is in it, normally they die.
Yep.
And if it's a stalking situation, usually the person being stalked either ends up hurting the person stalking them or they get hurt, right? And so we were just trying to see how we could tell a story with an ending that didn't end with death or someone really getting hurt. So again, Charlotte Warren came up with that twist. I owe her everything because it's the twist that makes the movie. But yeah, I would just say like we made sure not to have anything that was like a weapon. So like no knives, no guns, nothing like that. The craziest we got was using a rope. But again, if you watch it until the end, the rope was used for something else. So I'd say that was the biggest thing, just making sure that we weren't going down the rabbit hole of every other thriller horror film that we've seen with lesbians in them. So
brilliant. Thank you. Anyone else?
I think worse, sorry, I think worse than the opposition, really, it can be the silence, like just being ignored in a general way. We did apply for a few grants, we did apply for a few financial helps, but we really got kind of ignored until we sent it to London and WDW Entertainment and the Bumble grant that we ended up getting to make our film. But I think it's kind of specific to France, maybe, because there's a really deep call for more representation, and it's kind of still being ignored. It's kind of still put under the rug. And again, this is our first festival. We did apply to ANSSI, but we kind of got ignored as well. So I think that, weirdly, from a French experience, overseas we do get attention and people interested in what we have to say, but in France it's still kind of ambiguous. It's not like a very warm welcome either. So I wouldn't say like we had opposition, but generally kind of silence and just kind of
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. Like, one thing Lesflicks is really trying to do is increase the visibility to try and prove there is that audience. And I think part of that for us is really about empowering the audience to realize the power they have to amplify the films they find. So when you find a film, you should share it on your social media, tell your friends. We are all influencers in our friendship groups, much more so than I think other communities sometimes, because we really do trust our friends, and whatever they send us, we're like, it must be good, it came from my friend, they're lesbian, I'm lesbian, therefore, you know, or thereby I'm bi. We really do trust them. So knowing the power that has, because I think the only people that are going to change this myth that there's no interest is us in our community, sharing the work we find and talking positively about it. So that's, yeah, it's a challenge. Yeah, you're right, silence is almost worse than challenge, because you can't do a lot with silence. You can't engage in a conversation if no one's engaging back. So that I can see the frustration there. Diana has a question for Chloe. Did you face challenges as a more mature woman in making your film? Now, so I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer this because you're obviously in front of the camera. Diana wants to know how easy it was to get equipment. I'm not sure how much involvement you have in that, but maybe you could talk about your experience having had this film out and if you've had any kind of reactions to it. Yes.
Are you talking to Chloe? Oh, okay. Well, I asked this question because somebody told that is important for the young generation. Young generation is more fluid to make film, but is it important to make film about lesbian life and over 50? Is it better to make film with young people, or it could be the same with older people for marketing?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's really important to have all people shown in life. We can't just be seeing young stories, because as we get older, as we go through life, we are looking ahead as well. And we all, I'd hope we all feel like we now know we can come out. What we want to know is, will we be happy forever? Like, we're looking ahead now. So yeah, no, I think it's really important to share those experiences. And as I say, they don't get taught in school. So film has an opportunity to give us a bit of an insight into experiences. So Nicole has a question as well. Let's bring this up. Question for everyone. Do you have a filmmaker or a film that's inspired you and made you want to become a filmmaker? Anyone? Stacey?
I can go. I have a couple. First, one of the earliest films, I guess, queer films I've watched was Debs. And I love anything Angela Robinson does. Her style and the comedy, that's a lot of stuff I try to write is comedic in some way. So I really appreciate all of that. Another, in terms of documentary, one of the films that actually kind of pushed my butt to go back to school was a film I saw at Sundance years ago called Tarnation, which is a beautiful documentary. And just the style in that as well really kind of helped me see what my vision wanted to be, what I wanted to do. So I think those two are definitely high up on the list.
Excellent. Taylor, you've literally just named my current favourite film in the private chat. Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman. If anyone hasn't seen it, in terms of saying about not being taught our history, it's based on a true story, and it's how the Wonder Woman character was made, and you just have to watch it. I don't know about around the world, but in the UK it's definitely on Netflix, so there is no excuse not to see it. It's just phenomenal. Yeah, my god, like as I say, at the moment my current favorite film. Anyone else want to jump in on inspiration?
I'll go, since we are talking about Professor Marston, because I love that movie and I love everything that Angela Robinson does. And I just wanted to do a quick, I guess, flex, because she actually came into my Outset program and taught a little bit about directing. So the fact that I got to learn a little bit from her before I kind of made my first, film was incredible. I will say I also love, not a movie, but a TV show. Gilmore Girls is just always going to be so up there for me, just because I love Amy Sherman Palladino's dialogue so much. It's like definitely something I like to kind of work into my style, with the very quick back and forth and the pop culture references.
Yeah.
And in terms of LGBTQ movies, I think one that's really, really underrated that made a huge impact on me, that actually just came out a few years ago, is called Princess Sid, and I believe it's Stephen Cohn. And it's just a very quiet coming of age movie that has a lot of characters that are so three-dimensional and like so much more than their sexualities. And it's just a really, really beautiful kind of quiet film. So definitely check out Princess Sid if you haven't watched that one yet.
Excellent. Anyone else?
I have a horrible tendency of doing this. You can go ahead.
Oh no.
Okay. For me, I mean, I always knew I wanted to make films or television, but I was less inspired by particular filmmakers and more of just like a huge TV buff. The show Buffy the Vampire Slayer was everything for me. Just the way the chemistry is written out in that show, and the mixing comedy and tragedy for me is huge when I write. And I like that there could be horrible things going on, but there's still like a witty line thrown in there. Shows like The Golden Girls, which I was really into as well, for the dialogue. Just I was always just amazed by really good writing and very sharp wit. So stuff like that always inspired me to want to make something like that.
Yeah.
But gay,
I love the movie Kiss Me. It's a Swedish film. I've seen it a million times. I really just love the story of the women, of course, but then the connections between parents and children. It's amazing. If you haven't seen it, I love it. But after I made my first film, actually going to Cinema Sisters Film Festival and just sitting in an audience watching lesbian film all day long, that's really what inspired me to keep doing this, because regardless of how much money you have, it's 2020, and aside from COVID, anything is possible. Like somebody said, you can literally make a film on your iPhone at this point. So I would just say, anybody listening who hasn't made a film and wants to, just do it. You won't be.
Great advice. Yeah. Would anyone else like to jump in with any other inspiration?
I wanted. Sorry.
Oh.
No, you haven't. You have barely spoken. I'll leave you the spot.
I caught myself in LA even like always looking for a director. For like a girlfriend of mine would write a script or something, a friend of mine would write a script, and I'd be like, okay, who should we have direct it? And it took me like a year or two to be like, wait, why wouldn't we one of us to direct it? So I sort of just caught myself like always looking for somebody else to like, sorry, that's my cat, by the way. I don't know if you can hear him meowing, but he's like doesn't have my full attention. So, I just, there are so few women, it still seems, directing. So it kind of came from a place of like, I'll do it. With
in the UK, because of lockdown and because all of our films come from the US and we follow a pipeline, and obviously no cinemas are open in the US, no theatres. We've had one of our kind of, I guess, theatrical booking companies put together a list of films that cinemas can access to show back catalogues. And sad to say that there were less than 5 female directors in the entire list of films they put together. And actually, it was interesting, though, that the independent cinemas picked up on that. And I think that was quite inspiring, because it's quite soul destroying. It's like, it's not like they're not out there. There are less, but to kind of put together a back catalogue of films to be shown and to not even bother to check your list is diverse is, yeah, pretty unfortunate and just disappointing, really, in this day and age. I'm also not entirely sure I want to go and see the films that have been on my TV for the last 3 months in the cinema right now. So I'm waiting for something interesting to come through. But hopefully it's an opportunity for independent stuff to sneak in there, because we've got empty cinemas with content, no content to show. So anyone else? So what's everyone been doing in these last 3 months to keep creative and keep themselves from going completely insane? Does anyone want to share kind of, is anyone working on anything new, anything exciting that we should keep an eye out for?
Actually, we're shooting it tomorrow, so I'm all backed up about it. We're going up into the desert, and it's just a 1-pager Western where these 2 cowboy murderers sort of like drag me to die in the desert, and instead I seduce death and kill them instead. So it's just this like bonkers, very angsty, came out of like I'm stuck in COVID kind of place. My friend wrote it. And we're going into the desert to shoot it tomorrow, just to, you know, be safe outside, but to like do something. So it's this
cool.
like,
excellent.
Yeah, I've never done anything like that before. So we're just doing it.
Excellent. Anyone else?
Yeah, so I've been starting to write a pilot for a small episodic. Been working on that, and then this like weight on my back. I've been working on a feature documentary for a very long time, and it's about my family, and was able to start getting back into the footage and getting into the story again. I couldn't do it for a couple of years for various reasons, but that's been really great, kind of looking at the stuff again and trying to figure out, you know, what is the story arc, etc. So I'm working on that pretty heavily right now.
Excellent. Anyone else?
I actually shot a film completely remotely a couple of months ago, which was just like such a crazy cool challenge. So I kind of like directed via Zoom, and then had actors in like 3 different time zones, like filming on their iPhones. And I ended up, I wrote it, and then I ended up editing it as well. And so that was really, really cool. I did it for a contest, and so I'm writing the feature version of it too. So I kind of have you know, everything ready to go in case things, you know, start opening up anytime soon. I have the feature version ready as well. And then I'm actually co-writing a script with someone I met through the Outset program that I keep talking about, but really is such a great program. And that's a really fun sort of sister dramedy that we want Dolly Parton to be in. So that's been a lot of fun as well, to be able to sort of collaborate through it all and keep sane, and you know, have other creative people sort of around you. I think it definitely helps to not just watch The Real Housewives all the time, which is what I tend to do when I'm not being productive.
Yeah, I haven't had any time to really kind of chill out, because like, yeah, everyone went online overnight, and I was like, oh crap. But yeah, no, but I've actually found it's been really interesting, because I was really focusing on the UK primarily as a new site to kind of build a base, and was doing face-to-face stuff, because that was a really engaging way to engage with an audience quickly. And then overnight, suddenly that all ended, and I was like, oh crap. But actually, like, I think there's been some real opportunities, and just being able to meet so many people online. And I think this is probably like my 45th event or something crazy during 3 months of lockdown. It's like, yeah, just basically like Zoom's my best friend now, like. But yeah, no, it's good to hear people being creative, because I think there's a few, actually. I think I've heard of at least 3 projects being filmed remotely with you know, actors becoming crew, and as you say, using Zoom to direct. I think there's definitely a lot of silver linings to this opportunity at the moment. Like, people are really thinking outside the box. It's allowing us to kind of come up with creative opportunities and things that you wouldn't necessarily think about normally. So excellent. So we've got a comment that says that a lesbian Western sounds very cool. I'm not sure if that was a lesbian Western specifically or not, or whether it was kind of, you might need to make it lesbian. Can you change the characters? Is it too late?
It's just it's like one page. We have this very cool old Bolex camera. So it's a glorified camera test, really. But but you have to pay to develop the film, so you might as well have film that like matters. So it's not really a lesbian Western. It's just me killing men, which is
well, I mean, probably still as popular. But yeah, so if anyone wants to make a lesbian Western, though, it sounds like there's interest, so that's worth knowing. If you could collaborate with anyone on like the perfect project, who would you collaborate with? I love throwing out a really tough one there. Come on, everyone. No one's got in their mind their dream person.
Emily Andrus, who's the showrunner of Winona Earp. I don't know if anyone knows that. I would work with her in a heartbeat and make some really cool, badass queer shit. Sorry, as I cursed every curse I could think of. But yeah, that would be my reaction if she wanted to work with me. But
excellent. No, good. Just as a heads up there, can death be a woman in your film? Find a way to make it queer. Come on.
We actually rented this very cool classic Grim Reaper thing. So death is genderless in this one, but we are trying to track down one of those steer skulls that have the incredible horns. You know what I mean? That very classic Western kind of thing. They're very difficult to find. I'm not sure if we'll pull it off by tomorrow, but death is sort of genderless in this one.
Excellent. Anyone else? If you put your call out now, you never know, they might be watching and they might call you up. So yeah.
One film that just came out that I can say I was really, really excited about, called, oh God, now why am I forgetting the name? The Old Guard. Sorry, it's on Netflix. And Gina Prince Bythewood directed it. And it's not necessarily a queer film. There's a queer couple and a beautiful scene. Oh my God, crying. But I've loved action movies since I was a kid, and sci-fi movies and stuff like that. So it'd be fun to learn from someone who has done it and done it so beautifully.
Excellent.
Yeah, in terms of learning from, I always love to follow Pamela Adlon, who is doing Better Things right now, which is such an amazing show. And I love sort of just watching her videos of her directing. I feel like I learn a lot just from watching like the sort of Twitter videos she puts out. So I would love to like co-write something with her, or even just be on set to like see her work, because I think that she's such an incredible female filmmaker, and is like one of the most prominent right now that's doing a lot. And I think that she brings a lot of compassion to the set too, from what I've seen, which I think is so important as a director, that I think is not valued as much as it should be. So I just really admire her. So I would love to work with her someday.
Brilliant. Thank you. Anyone else?
And I would just say Jill Soloway, who made Transparent. Would love to work with her.
Amazing. Yeah. No. That's the thing. There's a lot of talent out there. Like, there's a lot of talent out there. Brilliant. Funny enough, so we've got a lot of Buffy fans in the room. Has anyone watched Buffy recently? Because Channel 4 in the UK decided to rerun the entire Buffy every single weeknight at like 11 p.m. at night, and they started doing double bills back to back because I think they realized they'd be showing it till Christmas. The only thing I'd say is it was always made for a small screen, because when you watch it on a big screen you can really see the bad extras and stuff. But so I'm like, don't watch it on a big screen, because it does slightly change it, because you're like, that's so obviously not them. But it's been good to rewatch, and I must admit, kind of counting down to kind of, we're just getting near to the lesbian scenes now, so I must admit, it is a bit of takes you back in time. So Christina.
I'll admit something actually that's quite embarrassing to say, but when I first watched Buffy live way back when, I didn't catch on about Willow being gay till Buffy did in the show. I watch it back now and I just cringe at the fact that it just went over my head. I mean, no wonder I took so long to come out. I was just clueless. But I just remember when Buffy's character finally has a moment with Willow, like in their dorm or something, and she's about Tara being more than a friend, and she's like, oh, that was when I was like, oh. So it's pretty embarrassing to look back now.
But I think it shows that, you know, you do need that kind of light bulb moment sometimes, and that's why I think sometimes people can watch Disney and not see the gay scenes that are really obviously there, because you kind of have to be slightly switched on to it to really identify. One of the films we've seen during this festival, Kill Norwood, you could watch that film, and if you had not an inkling of kind of queerness to you at all, I think you'd watch that film and think it's just a girl with her friend, because it's subtle and it's there, but it's nuanced, and it's about, you recognize the look you give each other, and you recognize the body language as being just a little bit more than friends. So I think it is about kind of that inner knowledge that helps you to see things. So, and that's why that representation is important, because you see it and then you go, ah, now my life makes sense. Brilliant. We are fast running out of time. Does anyone want to share anything at all in terms of just anything in life they want to impart, any wisdom, encouragement, thank you to their fans? Anyone? Yeah, come on, like, we've got, as women we have to be more like, yeah, take up the space.
My mom and dad are listening, so I just wanted to say hi, Mom.
I'll say that too. Hi, Mom.
Brilliant. Excellent.
So thank you for putting this on. That's what I want to say. You know, thank you to Lesflicks.
Yeah, no, I say, like, for me, it's been great. We'd normally be in a field in Wales with a few hundred women. It's a lot warmer at home. And it's just nice to be able to bring these films to a wider audience. So I really need to say thank you, because if you weren't in this content, if you didn't make this content, if you didn't write this content, we wouldn't be able to showcase it. And the level and quality of film is just getting bigger and better every time. So thank you so much for creating this content. I know it's not easy. To anyone watching, amplify it. Find something you like, tell your friends. I know that we love to support independent coffee shops, but also support film. You know, tell your friends that you found something you love. Even if you don't like everything about it, find the thing about it you do like. Is the story good? Is the soundtrack good? Do you like the actors? Do they look good? Even if you don't like the whole thing, there'll be something in everything you like, and just tell people about that at the very least. So help us to amplify these great stories. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah.
Just to echo that real quick, I get the question a lot of, well, how can we get your series out there? A lot of people crowdfund and stuff like that, and we really don't want queer people to keep having to pay for queer content. Yeah. So what's important, as you're saying, to amplify, that's how you can help. Show that there's an interest in this, show the world, so we can convince the other people who should be paying for this to invest in us, because we're worth being invested in. So
brilliant, thank you. Yes, so if you want to catch any of the films featured in this Q&A, plus I think I've got 6, 7, 8, about 27 others, my maths is bad, they are available on Lesflicks to watch until midnight tonight, so you've not got long left. We have one more Love Stories watch party happening in 3 hours, and then we have our community screening in 5 hours. That's the last event, and that's going to be a screening of The Whistle, followed by a discussion about LGBTQ communities. Where are our communities? How do we connect? What can we do to make our community stronger? So please do join us. Thank you again to everyone on this panel, for everyone who's watching. We hope you have a great time. You've enjoyed these films. Stay safe. Keep in touch. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh.